he was handpicked. And in fact, one of the persons who was on board who described the scene says it was in a Rambo style, and it caused a bit of embarrassment to the nation state Ghana, which is the primary concern for this individual.
So he started off this journey on Saturday evening, May 9. He departed Ghana, arrived on Sunday, Amsterdam, where this Rambo-style situation you're describing happened. And then Parliament the day after issued a statement. What was the detail of the statement by Parliament of the Republic of
Ghana? So the statement from Parliament only suggested that he had been detained. They are working with the mission at The Hague to get a bit more in terms of details and see to what is happening, because Parliament was silent on the reasons for his detention and what was happening to him. In fact, that statement suggested they were seeking to find him because we didn't know where he was. But subsequent conversations suggest otherwise and suggest that we are now beginning to make headway because a lawyer is attending to his needs in terms of the processes he's going through and all of that.
In fact, the clerk of Parliament, Mr. Jethro, he says Parliament takes no... Okay, maybe you want to help us with this one. What did the clerk of Parliament say?
So, Parliament takes notice of reported detention of Asante Achim North MP, Kwame Ohene Frimpong in Amsterdam. Speaker and leadership in touch with Ghana's mission for details.
Now, what we know about the Honorable Kwame Ohene Frimpong, who's the Member of Parliament for Asante Achim, I mean, for many of you who may not know him, he's the Member of Parliament for that constituency. He hails from Agogo in the Ashanti region, represents the constituency as an independent Member of Parliament. He was able to defeat the Honorable Apia Kubi in that election. He went on an independent ticket but decided to caucus with the majority side in Parliament. We also know that on the 13th of May 2026, the reports of the link his arrest to an FBI investigation, alleged financial crimes. No formal charges, as we know, have been preferred against him or have been confirmed as we speak now. Now, what protects MPs? The law that protects MPs. We ask what exactly it is. And we'll be looking critically at Article 115 of the Constitution, freedom of speech, and then we'll also be looking at the private trip, not a parliamentary trip, what happens in a private trip, and what happens in a parliamentary trip. What we know is that per Article 115 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, MPs cannot be sued or prosecuted for what they say in parliamentary debate. We know that for a fact. So they have parliamentary immunity. We also know that if a member of parliament is on his way to work or he's on his way from work, is doing parliamentary work, he cannot be arrested. But again, whether or not he did a private trip or a parliamentary duty trip is the other question. The immunity in this particular instance only covers travel to and from or during parliamentary proceedings. Frimpong was on a personal journey, as we know. He was on a personal journey when he was picked up in Amsterdam. So that immunity, if you look critically at Article 115 of the 1992 Constitution, he may not qualify for that. We'll explore that further. And then we'll look at Article 116, Mawina. What's contained in Article 116 relative to parliamentary immunity? We know that he was on a personal journey.
Yes, so this was a personal journey.
So that back and forth from Parliament where 115 will protect you is missing here.
So the 115 is on speeches.
Right.
Then 116 is on act in Parliament, so actions done and all of that. Right. There's a bit of immunity which is enjoyed there. Then
in fact, this is 117.
117 is on law enforcement agencies and service and what have you. And it comes back to the point that all of these immunities we talk about for our legislators is within the four walls of the country. And the moment you step out, it doesn't or it will not apply. But for instances where we can talk about a bit more in terms of education as to holders of diplomatic passports and persons who are on mission. What I know from at least a little that we understand
That's
is
right.
that those persons more often than not are afforded certain courtesies. The question which needs answering is whether or not the courtesies will be overridden by a court warrant seeking the arrest.
Right.
Because that is what we understand was the operational ticket upon which he was picked up. A warrant of arrest from a U.S. court.
That's right. So there was legal basis for his arrest and detention. It was not, per the whims and caprices of anybody. Now let's look at the other slides on this particular matter, because the plot is thickening. Again, let's look at Article 117 of the 1992 Constitution, where immunity from arrest is key. That no civil or criminal processes may be executed while MPs are on travels to or attend or return to Parliament. That has been established already. Now, why does this not protect Mr. Frimpong here, as it were? Well, Speaker Bagbin has said so himself, that no member can act as though the confidence of the electorate is a shield against scrutiny. This was Speaker Bagbin in 2025, that no member can act as though the confidence of the electorate is a shield against scrutiny. And there have been reports of members of parliament or people who are purported to have done wrong in society being in a hurry to get into the House of Parliament just so they are insulated from any form of punitive measures. And the Speaker in May 2025 had cause to raise these questions that, well, it is not a shield anyway. Okay. Now, let's look at Article 118 and 119. What does it say?
If you look at the 118, it says MPs cannot be compelled as court witness or juror while attending Parliament.
Right. So that's immunity again. So number one, they cannot be arrested when going to do parliamentary work or returning from parliamentary work. Number two, they are not supposed to be compelled to serve as witnesses or jurors in attending parliamentary.
While attending Parliament.
And then whatever they say on the floor of Parliament is also insulated from any form of actionable course. Now, why does it not protect Frimpong here? And we're speaking to 118 to 119 of the 1992 Constitution. Well, we know that Ghana's Constitution grants absolute civil or criminal immunity to the sitting president only. To the sitting president only, and any other person, they may have a narrow qualification of a sort. Let's get on to Zoom now and speak with the Honorable Nelson Roxon Eche Kwame Dafiamakpa, who's the Majority Chief Whip. He is also the Member of Parliament for South Danyi, the good people of South Danyi. Honorable, thank you very much and good morning.
Good morning. After abandoning me for months, it's okay.
I am blameless. I am blameless. God knows I am blameless. I'm blameless. How are you doing these days, sir? I'm greater than Accra. How are you doing too, sir?
Rather, well, we are, by grace of God, we are well, we are fit. There's so much work to be done, but we are okay.
The arrest of the Member of Parliament for Asante Achim North, what do you know?
Yes. Well, by virtue of my position, been handling this matter with my boss, that's the Honorable Ayariga, since Sunday morning when he broke. I was actually called around 5 or 5:30 in the morning, Sunday morning. And so that's how far we've come. He himself, when the matter broke and I eventually got him on the line, he was in transit to Accra at Heathrow in London. So he had to travel to Heathrow, Schiphol, to go and engage our colleague who had then been detained. And so he was waiting for like 2 or 3 hours. And by that time, we had also gotten in touch with the Ghana's ambassador to The Hague, Ambassador Edison. the protocol officer of that mission, the Minister of Foreign Affairs himself, and the Deputy, the Attorney General, and the Minister for the Interior, and then the Clerk to Parliament and Speaker. So this is how we've coordinated the matters thus far. But it's okay. I just got in touch with the lawyer. We've gotten a lawyer for him, a Ghanaian-based,
Right.
Ghanaian-based in Amsterdam, who
Okay.
practices in The Hague.
Right.
It's a lawyer. He's the one we got. It's called Joe
The
Apia.
best in the morning.
So he's the one dealing with the legal issues to see what we can do, especially because even though it's a private trip, he's traveling on his diplomatic passport. So there are implications in terms of the room statute and all that. So those are the options we are looking at.
Is on 92.7.
The
Sunrise on
immunity
3
that you
FM.
talk about, in this particular instance, he was on a private journey, not on a parliamentary journey, but
Yes.
nevertheless, he had a diplomatic passport with him. Let's look at the immunity parameters. Could the situation have been any different?
You see, I don't think so, but there are remedies when that happens. So when that happens, if you are on a diplomatic passport or you are a diplomat, qua-diplomat, then certain processes can be triggered. That's what I mean. But to say that if you were on an official trip, this couldn't have happened, I doubt. Because let me give you some examples. Even a sitting president of a sovereign nation, President Pinochet, any lawyer of some repute, or any lawyer who has done deep reading international law and conflict of laws, knows that these are classical examples. A sitting president of a sovereign state, he came to London on an official trip. He was arrested and detained to be extradited to the US. He had to fight it through the courts, all the way to the House of Lords. There are a series of them: Pinochet 1, Pinochet 2, Pinochet 3.
Right.
Julian Assange, if you know, he was arrested. He sought asylum in another mission. It took years for that matter to be resolved. So as for the US, when they issue these arrest warrants and it is remitted to Interpol will carry it out. And then other processes are triggered later. So I doubt that if this were any other way, this could have been prevented, so to speak.
In the morning is on 92.7.
But he's well.
Sunrise on
He's not
3
been harmed.
FM.
He's well. The lawyers are working frantically to see what can be done in terms of the remedy. And I can also say that as a result, the Attorney General is also being called upon to do an opinion on his status by virtue of being traveling on the diplomatic passport as to what the implications are. So when that too is ready, I believe that we'll know our way forward. But it's an opinion that will be furnished to Parliament as well as to the lawyers at The
Right.
Hague, and also to the prosecutors who are handling the matter.
What is he said to have done?
Well, to be candid, because we all need to be candid, there is no official disclosure of the reasons. What I discovered this morning from engaging the lawyers is that even the warrant, it's such a fresh warrant. It was because we didn't get to see even the warrant until the lawyers are just informing me that they've seen the warrant, and that the warrant was issued on 26th of April.
I see.
So 26th, so it's such a fresh warrant. So even as a sovereign nation, I doubt if we have been informed in any way. So, so this is why took issue with Amanda Clinton, lawyer Amanda Clinton, when she went to town and tried to bastardize our security services and all that. Because when you verify the facts, you will see that this is a fresh matter. Our securities have not even been notified, let alone blame them that or bastardize them that they have not been notified because nobody trusts them. A warrant issued on 26th of April. Today is just about the 14th of May, so it's just about 3 weeks old. And for a warrant to be issued and related to Interpol for them to even execute it within 3 weeks, it said something, but these are the hard facts. So we are here to get the reasons underpinning the issuance of the warrant. So I want to urge everybody, especially his constituents, everybody should become party executives, our colleagues in parliament, the general public, everybody should become. When we get the official reasons, we cannot discuss it. But until then, those things that are thrown about in social media should be discarded for now.
Does this member of parliament have a twin? You are a twin. Does he have a twin that you know of?
As a matter of record, no. But he has hinted me. And so apparently they have a strange, their relationship is estranged. So we've asked some family members to see if he can be traced. I don't know that for a fact until he himself mentioned it. So it's something that must be verified if indeed he has a twin.
Recently,
And if he did, he
right?
has a twin. If he did, he has a twin.
Right.
Whether they are identical, because me and my twin, we are not identical. But when you see us, you see we are fraternal, but we are like brothers. Some brothers, they look so alike.
That's right.
Myself and my twin, we look so alike like brothers, but we are not identical as to features. So you need to ascertain that. Then you also need to ascertain what he's doing, because these things they can feed into some of and create some of these problems for your alter ego.
Now, there are two Ghanaians who have been arrested in the United States, Abubakar brothers, Arrangement and Lancaster, and there seemed to be some linkage that is being created to suggest that he must have been in league with them, defrauding people here and there, and a couple of others, K-Boat, who now has been repatriated to the United States, and all of that. Did you have a conversation with him regarding those matters? And if you did, what did you learn, sir?
No, today is Thursday.
That's right. Today is
right?
Thursday.
Today is Thursday.
Yeah.
The last time we communicated was on Tuesday. When we did a conference call with the lawyers, other officers, from other people from his constituency, and he himself. But yesterday, I only engaged the lawyers, and this morning too, I only engaged the lawyers. Now we've had, in fact, I didn't until this matter. I had no idea what's been happening. That the names that you've thrown about, that they've been arrested. I don't even know who they are. To be honest with you, I am now picking some things from TikTok and all that, and getting to know that these are like influencers or boys who are social media people. So I had no idea such arrests have been effected. So I didn't know. I didn't ask him because that matter hadn't come to my attention since.
Right.
At the time on Tuesday, it came to our attention actually yesterday.
Okay.
So if I get the opportunity to engage him again, then I'll put it to him whether he knows them, and if indeed he knows them, whether they have done anything together in the past or now to be a basis for what is happening. Because it's always good to draw linkages when things like this happen. You piece the pieces together to maybe arrive at a certain conclusion. So But until then, I'm unable to speak to any linkages. I think they are independent occurrences. Because for a warrant to be issued on 26th of April, it means it's such a this sort of warrants normally last so long, but
Right.
the evidence is that it's such a fresh warrant. So if the warrant is so fresh, then we need to know. And I also ask him, since becoming an MP, whether he's done anything so untoward to attract the attention of the American government this way. He said no. That one I asked him.
The best in
And
the
I asked him
morning
in
is
his
on
previous life before
92.7
coming to Parliament.
Sunrise on
There
3
too, he said
FM.
no. He hadn't done anything like that to attract or to even be cautioned. So we'll see how it goes.
Is it looking good for him? You are a private legal practitioner, a very experienced one indeed. You've been speaking to his lawyers. Does it look good?
You know, extradition is always difficult to fight as a lawyer. If for the sake of the records, in 2011 or 12, I did one in Ghana when the then Ivorian, one of the key Ivorian opposition leaders was arrested in Ghana and was to be extradited to Ivory Coast. Blake
Right.
Guje,
Right.
I
Blake
don't know if
Guje. Yes, Blake
Blake
Guje.
Guje, yes, I was his lawyer.
Oh, I see.
I was his
I
lawyer
see.
13, 14 years ago.
On 3 FM.
And we went with far processes. It wasn't a joke.
Of course.
Eventually, he got extradited. But you see, because when when two state powers have conspired against you, it's difficult. But we did what we could do as lawyers, filed the processes, even got the court orders. But he was taken away. So the lawyers that we have found for him are doing their best. What I see happening is that there's no rush on the part of the prosecutor, the appointed prosecutor in The Hague. He's also trying to go through the motions. So once we don't see that kind of rush, we think that some judicial remedy may be available for us to trigger.
Some elements within the MPP are suggesting that this could be another Eric Amoating situation. If we go back to 2005, the MPP's Eric Amoating was picked up in the United States over some heroin conversations. He was jailed, subsequently released, I think, in 2014 or so. His seat was declared vacant. The by-election happened, and they say this is a deja vu, a repeat of what happened back in the day. What do you say to that, sir?
It will be a tragedy for anybody to gloat over the distress that the honorable member for Asante Achim North is in now. However, however the level of enmity, political enmity is, it will be a tragedy for any politician or member of parliament on the side of the NPP to gloat over this and call it a payback time. Now, the two scenarios are different. There's an allegation unproven, nothing established yet. In the case of Amoating, evidence have been gathered, properly done, surveillance laid. So if they want to be in a hurry to make the comparison, that is their cup of tea. But on me as his chief whip, because he's a member of my caucus, remember.
Right.
All this came to my plate because I am his chief whip. So I was the first person he called me like 10 times. And the colleagues that he was traveling with, they also called me like 10 times. So since Sunday morning, it's been calls, coordination. So I am urging calm and some restraints in dealing with this matter. People who want to fabricate may fabricate, but it may not turn out to be the fact. So you would have tarnished or defamed somebody. And let me again, for the avoidance of doubt, this process, presidents have suffered it. Presidents, sovereign leaders, they have suffered it. They have suffered this humiliation. So it can befall anybody. By the time it's, oh, it was a mistake. Oh, it was an error. What do you say? So I'm urging calm. We see it's a developing story. That is why even Parliament, when we were communicating the fact of his detention,
Right.
we urged calm and said it was an unfolding story. When we get the true picture, we'll let the public know. And I think that is where we should all leave it, because nobody will wish him this, and nobody will wish any person this. Even if it's Ghana, I don't think I want to wish any young Ghanaian to be arrested home, let alone to be arrested and extradited. No, it's not a pleasant. If you are a lawyer and practice in that area, it's not a pleasant experience.
How
To be
does this
deprived of your-
how does this leave the image of your side in Parliament in the eyes of the public? What have you been looking at from where you sit as leadership?
Yes, leadership as a responsibility. We have always had orientation for the members, especially for the entire members of Parliament. Parliament has that responsibility. We offer orientation. We caution members to watch their activities, because by virtue of having become a member of Parliament, you are the searchlight is on you, so to speak. So there's a code of conduct for MPs. Everybody is guided to operate within. And then as a caucus, we ever often we remind members to be careful of the things they do and the companies they keep. You see, sometimes it may not even be your direct action, but it may be an associate of yours who may go and do something untoward and you may be affected. So ever often we apprise and avert their minds to some of these implications, not even abroad, but home here. So as a caucus, we feel disappointed, we feel down, but even as Parliament, as an institution or organ of state, we feel that this brings an unnecessary and avoidable attention to us. But it's a bad patch that we hit. We believe that we'll go through with some dignity and come out looking well.
Council, I want to thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. We're grateful.
It's my pleasure, my brother.
And that's Roxy Nelson Eche Kwame Tapiamako. He is the Member of Parliament for the South Danyi constituency in the Volta region. Is also the Majority Chief Whip, giving us some insider information regarding the arrest and detention of the Member of Parliament for the Asante Achim North constituency in the Ashanti region in the Republic of Ghana. Now we know the majority side clearly is worried about the turn of events. Unfortunate as it is, but he says, look, we're worried about it.
Everybody will be worried because there's an image factor as to this. We know the provisions of law which suggest that innocent until proven guilty and what have you, but it doesn't take away from the fact that once this gets out in the media and the conversations start, it immediately takes a negative twist, whether or not it is intentional or it be deliberate. Once you are arrested in the stature in which you are a member of Parliament outside of the jurisdiction, Rambo style, and the rumor mills will just not stop, then it begins to become a subject matter of concern. And so, right in the step that is worried, there's a lawyer who's been procured for him, who is seeing to it. He hasn't spoken to him since Sunday. The only person outside of the lawyer who's seen him again, we understand, is the majority leader. From his
That's right.
narration, it
That's
doesn't
right.
appear our mission or the
has
ambassador
been able
even
to
has been
connect
able
with
to
them. Yeah.
connect with him.
I think it's early days
directly.
yet. Let's get on the phone line now. Speak with Samuel Bing. He's the executive director of the Parliamentary Network Africa, and joining us now on the phone line. Not Samuel Bing. Well.
The big conversation on 3FM Sunrise. The big conversation on 3FM Sunrise. The big conversation on 3FM Sunrise.
And you're still live on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. It's your back breakfast show that you can find anywhere in the world. Well, Serena Pamela Natongma is an international law lecturer at the GIMPA. She's joining us on the phone line now. Counsel, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for spending your morning with us.
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners as well.
Great. We are happy to have you. I'm sure you've been following the conversations around the arrest of the Member of Parliament for Asante Achim North. We want to talk about diplomatic immunity relative to this arrest. What should we know? Shouldn't his immunity have covered him as of the time when the arrest was effected using a warrant?
So, first of all, the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana gives MPs or provides MPs with immunities while they are on their way to Parliament, attending parliamentary duties, or anything with regard to parliamentary work while in Ghana. However, when it comes to international law, the protected persons under international law who have immunity or diplomatic immunity, the category is very clear. It is heads of states, heads of government, accredited persons, diplomats, and incumbent ministers of foreign affairs. So any person outside that category may not automatically enjoy diplomatic immunity. However, I've also heard arguments, relating to his diplomatic passport.
That's right.
That alone is not enough to give him the needed or required immunity under international law, unless it can be affirmed that he's a part of a delegation going on government business, he's attending to official businesses. Then, in that capacity, certain considerations can be made. But wielding or holding a diplomatic passport alone, per se, is not enough to cover an unprotected person under international law. It doesn't close you with automatic immunity under international law.
Does any form of immunity answer the conundrum of alleged criminality? You tell us, Counsel.
I beg your pardon?
Does any form of immunity, holding a diplomatic status, for example, does it insulate anybody from being arrested outside the shores of Ghana because they hold that kind of diplomatic arrangement?
Okay, there are two ways of looking at it. First of all, when it comes to national courts, for example, then the immunity of a protected person under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations is absolute, because under that convention, like the protected persons I mentioned, they have absolute immunity. And we can even reference a case like the arrest warrant case between Congo and Belgium, where an incumbent minister was arrested while on his way to do government work. He was a sitting foreign minister. And there, the court, the ICJ, held that you cannot arrest a person in that of that nature because of the office he holds.
Right.
The understanding is that persons who are listed as protected, they need to perform their functions in a very seamless way. They need to move about, without any restrictions or glitches. That is why the law gives them that protection. So before national courts, that immunity is absolute. However, before an international court, for example, like the ICC or the International
Hague,
Criminal Court, that immunity is not absolute, because the establishing instrument of that court explicitly states that it is no respecter of immunity. That is why we had sitting presidents like Jean-Jacques Bemba, Laurent Gbagbo, Charles Taylor being subjected to the jurisdiction of the ICC.
Now, the Majority Chief Whip gives us indication that the warrants that was used for the arrest of this member of parliament was issued sometime in the dying days of the month of April. So he calls it so fresh because it's just about 2-3 weeks old. Guide us through the process of when a warrant of this nature is issued as to the arrest of somebody who holds a diplomatic passport, for example.
So a warrant being issued, there is no period within which we say that, there are no conditions precedent. Once a warrant has been issued, it becomes effective.
So the country of origin of the individuals, for example, shouldn't be informed, or should they be informed?
I beg your pardon. I didn't hear you.
So he's from Ghana. He was arrested in Amsterdam. He holds a diplomatic passport, but a warrant has been issued for his arrest internationally. Should the Republic of Ghana, for example, have been put in the loop so that they know?
Internationally, once a warrant is issued, through diplomatic channels, maybe Ghana may be put on alert. However, it's not a duty or an obligation of the issuing state.
I see.
Do you get me?
I see. Interesting. Now, what options are available to the member of parliament now? He's supposed to come and serve the people who elected him. He's been held elsewhere. He still holds his diplomatic passport. It's not been revoked. But then no charges have been preferred against him. What options are available to him?
Okay, first of all, he has, a right under the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. He has a right to consular access. And if the arresting state denies him that right, it's a blatant infraction of the law. And that is another matter. So as we speak, he has a right to consular access where, the consulates must be informed of his arrest, and then any assistance that can be provided can be, taken from thereon.
Serena Pamela Natongma, Esquire, international law lecturer, GIMPA, we're grateful that you spent your morning with us.
I'm grateful to have been of assistance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, let's go on to the other phone line. Executive Director of Parliamentary Network Africa, Mr. Sami Obeng, is joining us. Sami, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thanks for having me, Johnny.
Let's look at Parliament in perspective. This will be the second time a matter of this is happening. The Amoating case is still fresh on our minds. It's always a reference point. Now this, we have been told just by the whip, the majority whip in Parliament, that this cannot be equalized or cannot be equated, if you will, to the Amoating case. What do you see? What do you know?
Well, Johnny, and what do I know? I'm sure I know as much to the extent that you and your media house and other media outlets have been able to provide to us, your listeners and viewers, of course, mostly through the absence, I must say, of the chief providing some levels of information. I think it is good that Honorable Chief Whip, Mr. Dafema Paul, has been providing information. It helps to clarify certain things. And it's a worrying situation to have a member of parliament representing over 90,000 constituents in the Asante Akim North area, detained in a foreign land when the issues are still murky, provides an area of concern for all of us. And so I really do think that it's a matter that should concern all of us. However, I completely disagree with any attempt to try and equate it to the Amwatin situation as yet. This is a situation that has been unfolding over the last, let's say, 100 hours, 4 days, and counting. And we cannot, in all fairness, one issue where we do not even know what the real charges are and all of that, be going along those tangents. People deserve the right to be heard. People are innocent until proven guilty. The Amwatin situation is a settled case. It doesn't matter what transpired in that. And under no circumstance should we even entertain the conversation of wanting to box them together.
I see. Now, Sammy, the image of Parliament at this point in the eyes of the people of Ghana, and you sit on many conference around many conference tables in Africa and the world, and then beyond the continent, the country of Ghana, our image. How does this go to impact it, if not dent it?
Well, it would depend, in my opinion, on how the situation unfolds. Assuming that this, unfolds and we realize that it's an issue of innocence, on the part of the honourable member of Parliament, an issue of mistaken identity, whatever. I'm sure that the facts would help to correct the situation, although the injury done to him and his image and his personality would be difficult to erase. But of course, if it turns out the other way, certainly it would be problematic. And I would urge, especially with where I sit and what I do, as the civil society organization that sits at the nexus between Parliament and getting citizens to understand what happens in Parliament, the opportunity to engage, would rather want the full facts to unfold so that we can be able to speak more specifically to the issue. Because there could be different dimensions to this. There could be the innocence, there could be the guilt, there could be reasons why this is happening, there could be direct implications for the entire parliamentary architecture, the entire resource mobilization issues in Parliament, issues around parliamentary communication when such situations emerge, etc. And I want to really that we wait to have things unfold in a much clearer manner to be able to jump to such conclusions. But I think in the midst of all of this, the Parliament of Ghana owes us, especially the people of Asante Akim North, and of course Ghanaians in general, the need to regularly communicate on this matter so that the rumor space would not rather provide or lead on the information dissemination. The issue happened early Sunday morning. It had to take Parliament, I think, about 48 hours to put something out there on the official page. It's been another 48 hours. What is happening? Of course, I've commended Honorable Robson. I think the true essence of one's work as a chief whip. I mean, if you have a chief whip who is unable to get involved at this deep level when you find yourself in that situation, then the person is not worth its salt. That's really part of the role of a chief whip, and I commend him really for this and for the information and communication. I think that it should also be coordinated with the Parliament of Ghana media relations and communication, infrastructure, so that we can have the information in a way that will not also catch any partisan political fire. Because we're looking at the issues in a way that communicates to 90,000 plus constituents who really are not just looking at things from an NDC or an MPP perspective.
Now, before I let you go, what learnings should we as a country be drawing from this? And by this, I'm not saying that Ohene is guilty or not guilty, but I'm saying that the lessons that we should be learning from this as a people, as a country, as young people, what would you say we should be learning from it?
Well, I am hesitant in jumping also into the learning here because these are a factor of fact, right? But if we can just speak to the fact that we know and learnings that we gain, it may not necessarily, from my perspective, not necessarily be to the young people, etc., but even Parliament and parliamentary institutions and parliamentarians and parliamentary staff generally. First of all, one of the concerns that I had when this matter broke was whether he was traveling on his diplomatic passport or on his...
He was indeed on his diplomatic passport, but he was on a private journey.
Yes, Chief Whip confirms that it's a diplomatic passport. And I think that from the conversation that you had with the lawyer, changes the dynamic. You can imagine he was traveling on his ordinary passport, which some MPs do, sometimes when they have challenges with their diplomatic passport here and there. So I think there is a catch there, as a learning going forward. One may also ask whether, with Parliament set to resume next week Thursday, barely 2 weeks to the resumption of Parliament, and it was actually in the week that Parliament announced its resumption for a warrant that was issued a few days ago, as has been confirmed by Mr. Dafemekong. Could that have been the reason for the speed, so that Parliament does not resume and then the issue around doing parliamentary duty as a basis for stopping the security agencies from getting him? Could that have been the reason why these people chose the path that they chose? Those are all guesses that we could have. A few days before he embarked on a particular trip, he was on an official parliamentary committee assignment. I think he serves on the transport committee. We saw some of the assignments that he has posted himself on his social media platform. So while he was on those assignments, obviously there's that parliamentary angle that comes in. Could it be that when immediately he decided to do this private, trip, which has got nothing to do with Parliament and his official constituency duties, that gave rise to this? All of these beg for answer and beg for reflection. But on the main substance of the case and what it could teach all of us, I think that when the issues unfold much clearer, we can be able to enter into those dimensions.
My final question to you, Mr. Obin, before I let you go. There is a perception out there that Parliament seems to be growing into an institution that is serving as a haven for persons who are perceived in society to be doing wrong. And there are a couple of names that have come up. For example, issues of corruption and corruption-related activities that are still under investigation with persons mentioned or persons of interest mentioned. And you find them contesting for parliamentary elections. Some win, some lose. But there are some in Parliament as we speak. Is Parliament fast becoming that haven for persons who society perceives as wrongdoers who must be punished for their wrongs?
Remember that the issue around cost of politics in Ghana and how the cost of running for political office has become an issue of concern, right? When it comes to our fight against politics, our fight against corruption, etc., has come up in recent times. In fact, I'm sure that we are all aware that one of the private members there intending to look at issues around money in politics is one that is being championed by this member of Parliament. As announced a few weeks or months ago, wanting to use his status as a legislator to be able to make sure that we have some clarity around how people acquire resources to be able to campaign, laws around campaign financing. And so this certainly must be an issue that is of interest to him, to want to push an agenda for Parliament to legislate on campaign financing. But I think it's an issue of interest to all of us, that the way and manner in which our politicians raise resources, finance their campaign, the very serious demand on politicians during campaigning periods. The various political parties are going to be having their primaries. Of course, he came in as an independent member of Parliament, so he does not have the burden of of party primaries, but all of the other burden that falls on you as a member of parliament after you have won. And after that is to look at. And for me, in all of this, one of the things we should remember is that campaign by him on matters relating to campaign financing,
Right.
which we must not allow to die no matter what.
Mr. Samuel Bing, I thank you very much indeed. He's the Executive Director of Parliamentary Network Africa. We're grateful that you spent your morning with us.
On 3FM, the best.